Welcome into a special post-game show, PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. Our goal is to be number one for you. Kyler Murray's goal to be back number one, week one, for all of the Bird Gang. Brack, we just got done watching Arizona Cardinals flight plan, just episode Kyler Murray rehab on their YouTube page. Check it out if you have not seen it. Tons of stuff to unpack. First initial thoughts on your end, Mr. Brack.
Yeah, fantastic episode. It was what I think a lot of us wanted to see from last year's in-season Hard Knocks. We were told it was going to come, that they were going to, the NFL Films crew was going to be able to go home with Kyler Murray and really kind of give us some insight into who this quarterback was. But this was, for the 20 minutes, it was all Kyler Murray. It was the biggest deep dive that we've had of the Cardinals franchise signal caller since he was drafted. And I think that the fan base, regardless if it was his rehab and to see how he's doing, what his mind state was, which I think is all positives, just to get a glimpse at their quarterback up close and personal, they got it. And I think that most people came away, pretty excited about the future of Kyler Murray.
100%. And I also think Kyler Murray, at the end of the day, is without question in my mind that the greatest first-round franchise quarterback they've drafted and developed. And I think we lose sight of that. And then you get this narrative from the national media and maybe some ex-teammates, and you forget, this is a human being. This is a young man in his mid-20s that's had a lot of success, but the expectations were immensely high when he was drafted. And it is bizarre that we haven't gotten an inside look. He's a very private person. Some would call him an introvert, but then you see him with his teammates, Hollywood Brown. You see, of course, the interaction with Jonathan Gannon. I love all of that. Now, a couple of things that stood out to me immediately, Bo. I don't know if you caught that line as it relates to last season, and then kind of a weight being lifted. I'm paraphrasing when members of the front office were gone,
he felt free in a sense. I even wrote that quote down. That did stand out to me as well. I think Darren Urban over at AZCardinals.com did a great job in breaking down tons of quotes from this episode. At the time, it was an upcoming episode. And now that we saw it and we got the full context of everything, didn't see that. Don't remember seeing that. But yeah, in a sense, I feel free. And then
what does that mean in your opinion? Like, do you think he had an issue with Steve Keim?
No, I think he meant the higher ups. I think that was all encompassing. I could be wrong. I mean, it was, I think that he felt very tied to the previous regime, and he mentioned the front office, no doubt about it. But I think that includes the coaching staff, and it includes obviously the front office. But I think he now feels like, okay, he can do his job, and he doesn't have to try to do other people's jobs now. Fully capable head coach, fully capable general manager, and I think that. That's probably, I agree with Ryan. Yeah, probably because of that homework clause. He doesn't have the, people looking like, hey, we've got to put this addendum in here just to look after Kyler. No, this organization feels confident that when he's healthy, that he can do his job, and they're going to give him full free reign to do so, obviously within the framework of the offense. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that stood out to me in this episode.
Yeah. Let's get to some of these comments. You guys are already crushing it in the chat. Chase, Kyler looks focused and hungry, right where we want him. Dale, great flight plan. I agree. Kyler will come back better and more focused than ever. He certainly looks focused. Mike in the chat, hype for K1's return after that flight plan. Dedication is going to pay off. Emily just got done watching. Goddamn, Kyler is looking good mentally, physically. Listening to him talk, he sounds like he's right. Mental state, and he's so hungry to prove everybody wrong. Michael, he's fired up. Everybody's fired up over K1. And I who knows? The final quote was, I think, the quote we were all waiting for, because everybody was like, well, where's the week one quote, right? And of course they finish with that, which they'll, video production 101. You want to keep the people on the hook as long as possible. I thought that was great. But I'm with people in the chat. I think if you showed me Kyler Murray right now and then in prior off seasons, like the last two, it looks the same. Looks exactly the same. Now, is that going to lend itself well to this fall? He's got to learn a new offense, partially from the side as he works back from injury. I think it's encouraging that Kyler Murray, to me, first of all, the throwing arm still looks fantastic. The calisthenics that he's doing, working out in Hawaii, Like we don't have a definitive timetable in place, but there's no reason to doubt that Kyler Murray is not at least going to be what we've seen in the past when he gears it up. I love the comment from his dad. Of course, everybody's parents are their biggest supporters typically, and he's like, "Yeah, the best is yet to come." From
Mhm.
Kyler Murray is a great quote.
Yeah, it was, and, he was dead serious, right? He
Yeah,
doubled down on it. It was a quote so nice, he said it twice. He said it, he's a serious guy, and he's the guy that's kinda behind the man, right? He's been his quarterback's coach. He's a former professional, major I don't know if he made it to the major leagues, but he's a former pro
he did.
baseball
Yeah,
player.
I think so.
He's got a background himself. He understands. I mean, I thought his quotes about just football and having to always be evolving as a football player because it's so tough because they're always adjusting. He
Mhm.
recognizes like, what, part of the reason or why things went wrong last season for his son and for the Arizona Cardinals. So, a couple takeaways as far as this goes, and it was the same. The main takeaway was yesterday after the quote came out yesterday. We could show it, and if we could put that on the screen, the quote from the end of the show. When you look further down the line, it seems like we got a long way to go. Ideally, I want to be back week one. That's the goal. At the end of the day, that's the goal. But I can't really look that far ahead. Got to take it one day at a time. Close quote. That's Kyler Murray stating that that's the goal. And I think that now that officially debunks anybody going along with the storyline that Kyler Murray's going to miss half to the majority of the season. I mean, this is a guy that's got his eyes dead set on week one. And I think that the Arizona Cardinals would be hard pressed in keeping him out of the lineup, much more beyond that, if they can keep him from playing in Washington against the Commanders on the road in week one.
Yeah, I will say, it was great. We were live on air yesterday toward the tail end of our show. Check it out if you haven't already. And Bo had gotten the quote from AZ Sports. They
Mhm.
got an advanced copy of the quote, which do we say like let's get some advanced copies ourselves here at PHNX Cardinals. We'd love advanced copies, Cardinals, of quotes ahead of time. But they came out. Tyler Drake put out an article and it had that quote in there, and it was I was shocked in the best possible way because we've been digesting it for an hour, like what's going to happen with K1. Is he going to give a proclamation of when he wants to return during flight plan? So we get that. Now, I will say, hearing him say it, the audio version versus the text and trying to contextualize the two,
Mhm.
the audio was not as confident as the print on the paper, in my opinion, because he gave some caveats in there. But I mean, anytime that you put out, my goal is to be back week one, and we got a long way to go. Dot dot dot. Yes, you're giving yourself some grace, but again, this could be, immature on my part. I think that grace is just a couple weeks. I think it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm not back week one, every week now we're on Kyler Murray watch, right? I don't think we're ever going to be in a scenario barring like a setback, and it's going to be like, yeah, we're going to put Kyler on IR or PUP or whatever, and we're going to look at, you know, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 13 weeks, as people were saying. I mean, now it's just, I honestly believe if he's not back by week one, Bo, it's going to be, is Kyler Murray practicing this week? Is he going to play this Sunday? We will be able to watch the injury report, the activation, will he go on IR every single week in anticipation for his return. And that makes this season all the more exciting for Cardinal fans.
Absolutely. It does. It gets people gassed up a little bit. And I want you to think about this. I want the chat to think about it. Because overall, I think a lot of people came away excited about their franchise quarterback. I think that he might even change some opinions of him, all for the better, right?
Yeah.
What's fueling? I want you to think about what's fueling the haters. What could they poke holes in, or what can they try to turn into a negative? I want you to think about it. We won't get into it now because I
Okay.
think the positives were all there. I came away, rereading some of the stuff, looking at some of the quotes, and just he is doing a deep dive into himself and really looking at himself in the mirror. I do like that he has a good idea that his communication skills weren't where they needed to be, that he can
Hmm.
come off as harsh to teammates, and sometimes he might even have to sugarcoat some things, not necessarily sugarcoat things, but say some nice things to his teammates that otherwise would take it as him just criticizing them or coming down on them. And that he's learning that overall, like, hey, I can't just show with my play and be a leader by my actions. I have to also do it with my words.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think, we all grow with different experiences and circumstances. And I mean, it has been 18 months before the injury of Kyler Murray getting dragged since really, I mean, since the LA Rams playoff game where people made proclamation that he quit on his teammates, then asking for money, then that offseason, and then the nightmarish season that they had in 2022. It's just been consistent. Kyler Murray's overrated, he's overpaid. And then now he can't play anymore. Tier 6, according to Will Brinson from CBS Sports. And it's just that has to fuel you at the end of the day. And it also, Kyler Murray is not a woe is me type of guy. I love the lines at the beginning. It's just like, hey, like I've won every opportunity possible in football. And then his dad talks about football as a team game. It's 53 men, but it's just we got to change some things of how we do things. I have to change some things. And there's no better time to reflect than when you're coming back from your first serious injury as a pro or collegiate or high school athlete. And Kyler Murray would have to be the most naive person in the world to be able to tune out everything that's said about him from coaches, players, ex-teammates, media, and not say, okay, clearly this is an issue. I need to overcome it, in part because I want to do this for the betterment of the Arizona Cardinal franchise, as he stated, to win Super Bowls. That's still his goal. It's great to see him. Of course, that should be his goal. Great to see him reaffirm that, Bo, in this documentary, because, I mean, the Cardinals are very far from a Super Bowl right now, in my opinion. They need, obviously, K1 back. They need high-end quarterback play. But that was the conversation that we were having 2 years ago. The Cardinals are a Super Bowl team. They're 9-0. Can they get the 1 seed in the NFC? We're in the process now of attempting to rebuild this roster while Kyler Murray rebuilds himself. And it's great to be able to have a front row seat to that.
Ryan saying Will Brinson watched that video and had to go review his employment contract with CBS for those dog poop rankings. We can advance that story today because my co-host did join Will Brinson and got a full, I guess, reason for his absolutely absurd quarterback tier rankings, and we'll tell you all about it in a little bit. But how about the comment about Call of Duty when he's sitting there and he's talking about it? At this point, I feel bad. I mean, it's like you see commercials and it's Jalen Ramsey and it's Justin Jefferson and they're in actual Call of Duty commercials, right? And you hear comments from Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. He kind of gets crushed for it. He said they're up at all hours playing video games, but still Kyler Murray continues to be, one of the guys that's heavily criticized for it. And he's he's well aware of it. Like the way he even broached saying that, he's very well aware. Like he couldn't even say, hey, I play Call of Duty with my boys. That's how we unwind.
Yeah, because he's a quarterback. Because it doesn't matter if you're a DB or a wide receiver, or even an NBA player. And in part, I mean, Devin Booker has accomplished a lot, and I think it gets the benefit of the doubt more often than not. He's the prodigal son right now. He owns the state, and he should. He's earned it. But then people look at DeAndre Ayton, and he can't get a rebound against Luka Doncic, and he can't get a rebound against Joker, and everybody's like, it's because of the video games. If your play does not Kyler Murray's video game hobby was not a problem until the team started struggling, right? And so he kind of made a comment about that. Like, you have to win. Winning cures everything.
Right.
But I love that comment. He was like, I'm into fashion, maybe a little too much. I like to travel now, right?
Too much. You got $230.5 million. It's all right.
Yeah.
You could buy all the clothes you want. And
you have no dependents that I know of, right? On your tax return. Like you've got some disposable income.
Right.
But yeah, the video game thing, I love. It's just like, I like to stay close to my buddies and we play video games. And again, I've made no bones about, like, I would much rather have Kyler Murray playing video games after hours than being downtown Scottsdale, living it up, and people taking pictures of him, and having a nightlife that bled into the next morning. Like, I feel like that.
Otherwise, I mean, the guy's barely taken a vacation his entire life. I mean, I remember growing up playing baseball. Sometimes he would miss spring break, but he played baseball, he played football, he played basketball. He never vacations. Like, he was in Hawaii probably one of the few times in his life just this couple weeks ago. It's really kind of crazy to think, like, the guy's life is just competition, and that's the kind of guy you want. And I think your point's great. It's like he's not he's not, and this isn't a knock on James Harden, but he's not James Harden. Like his off the field, off the court thing isn't having an affinity for strip clubs. It's
Right.
for, putting on the headset and saying, "Hey, Hollywood Brown, you up? Let's play some Warfare."
Right. Like all this stuff with Zion, if you follow Zion on Twitter and the women that are coming after him, and he's got a couple different women, right? And that's okay. You handle your own business. If Zion's an all-star next year, no one's going to care about that.
Right.
The Pelicans aren't going to care about that. Kyler Murray goes and wins the NFC West in the next 2 years. I mean, the video game thing hopefully will die off by then. It was the perfect storm though, because the homework clause came, right? And it was a swarm, a media swarm, a fan swarm of he's addicted to vids. The LA Ram playoff game was a disaster, and then he gets hurt. And then everybody, it's just open season on Kyler Murray. And it's unfortunate. I was watching another podcast tonight before ours, which is not ideal. It was Colin Cowherd and John Middlecoff of The Volume. And you can go watch it if you want, but I'm going to bring it up now because I think it's just absurd. They spent about 10 minutes trashing the Cardinals, and a lot of that went at Michael Bidwell, but Middlecoff now lives in Arizona. I think he lives in Scottsdale. He said he's a San Francisco guy. He covers the Niners. And basically said that they came to an agreement on the show that's aired now. It's like Caleb Williams, if the Cardinals have the first pick, he should refuse to come to Arizona. Like they doubled down on that, and then Kyler Murray's done, and Jonathan Gann is the defensive coach, so he won't succeed. I'm like, okay, let's just not play the season, guys.
Right.
And they were feeding into that narrative that Kyler's not going to play. I'm like, are people not paying attention? Clearly, like, because I saw a Florio article after that broke yesterday, like way late in the evening, like kind of a throwaway, a couple sentences. Kyler Murray, his goal is to play week 1. I would have thought after that news came out yesterday, we're in the dead period. It would have dominated local radio, local news, national news. It didn't. It didn't. Not at all. And I'm like, okay, so when Kyler Murray comes back in September or early October, are people just gonna be like, what's going on here? Is he allowed to play? Because again, you ask Joe Blow, national media, NFL reporter, when Kyler Murray's coming back, they'll be like, Thanksgiving?
Right.
No, everybody turn your brains on. He's coming back soon. He'll be back in like 2 months. We're in mid-July right now. Like there's a chance he could be back in 2.5 months, less than like 70 days. And the season doesn't start for another 2 months. So it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, they have blinders on. I mean, they're focused obviously on the teams that, as far as they gear up for the 2023 season, that they believe are going to contend, and they just don't. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals are a throwaway team right now. They're not They're not pushing the issue,
and they've earned that to some degree,
for sure. But to say, for Colin Cowherd, the guy he's talking with covers the Niners, and they have a 10-minute conversation about, Caleb Williams, him refusing.
They said he's rich now from NIL deals. They're doing the Florio argument again.
So he would delay starting the clock on him to go get probably a $300 million
Eli Manning. Contract. They said Eli Manning, John Elway 3.0. It's like Trevor Lawrence. I love Caleb Williams, and we're not even like Cardinals don't have the number 1 pick today, so it's a moot point. Trevor Lawrence was a bigger prospect, I would argue, than Caleb Williams than right now. He went to Jacksonville. He's playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Cardinals have been to a Super Bowl. They have a new stadium. It just blows my mind. It just irritated me. It has nothing to do with Kyler, but I wanted to bring that up.
No, I mean, if players are continually signing rookie deals with Washington and Jacksonville and all, the fact that Cleveland, after going, the winless season, that they were still at this day and age to get players to come play for their organization. Like those days are over. Like they are. Like, I just think that I don't think that the NFL Players Association would even want to support that.
Goodell doesn't want that.
No, nobody wants that. So I don't think that they would ever allow it to, as ugly as things have gotten. I don't think, obviously they can get worse, but they're not going to get that bad. They're not going to get that bad. I mean, still, like you need to see this organization continue to trend in the right direction. But to sit there and have an uneducated 10+ minute conversation about it, it's just like you're wasting your time. You really are. You're wasting everybody's time.
It is, and it's ridiculous because, and this is the bullet on top of everything. Kyler Murray's coming back soon. They're not going to have the first pick through their own pick. I just don't believe if Kyler Murray plays, 13 games, they're not going to be picking number 1 overall. They're just not. The way the NFL works, Kyler Murray will make them competitive. They'll lose some competitive games, then they'll win some they're not supposed to, right? Like the Cardinals were in contention last year because David Blau and Cliff Kingsbury and Colt McCoy, and it was just the second half the wheels fell off. If Kyler Murray's healthy, and that's a knock on wood, he hasn't finished the season healthy, they're not finishing with the first overall pick. They have a fourth place schedule. They're in a division with the Rams. The NFC quarterback picture is terrible, right? Could they get the number 1 pick from Houston? Now that's a different conversation, but man, just to sit here and say like both things can't be true. Kyler Murray's coming back early and they're also getting the number 1 pick. No, it's for that to be true. It's Kyler Murray's not coming back. The Cardinals are holding him out, and then they're going to be terrible with Colt McCoy. Then they're getting the number 1 pick.
Well,
like that's
it is going to be a little bit more difficult than, hey, Kyler Murray's back and we're a way better football team. I mean, I think
but there's a big difference between competitive and number 1.
Right. And he's going to have to acclimate to a brand new offense, and he's going to have to rework his footwork, and he's going to have to do some things that he's never done in his football career before. So, like, I completely agree with you, but at the same time, it's a little bit more complicated than, hey, get him his uniform, get him out there, get him the Superman
ball. Cave.
Yeah, and he's going to get you right where you want to go.
Love this question from KR Gordon. I'm going to tell you right now that Kyler Murray, if given the opportunity, let me just read the question. KR Gordon 08 in the chat. Real question. If K1 says he wants another lineman over Marvin Harrison Jr., do you listen to him again? I would, but it'd be hard pressed to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. There's no way on God's green earth that Kyler Murray would say, don't draft Marvin Harrison Jr. They gave him his lineman he wanted from Ohio State.
Right.
Like if the O-line's bad this year, they're going to probably spend money next March to take care of that. Maybe they'll draft a lineman too, but if they're picking 2 or 3 and there's needed QB teams ahead of them, they're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. You put it in the BetMGM sportsbook right now, Bo Brock.
Absolutely. I will. I'll nominate myself for sacrifice. If it's Aaron Donald, put me out there. I'll play the offensive lineman that we passed up his position, and he can just bulldoze me. But as long as that means that Marvin Harrison Jr. is wearing an Arizona Cardinals uniform, I will make that sacrifice. I mean, I like the hypothetical. It's great, but I agree with Johnny. I don't think it's going to happen. And if you're pressed on it, if you're going to press me on it, I'm going to say you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. because, Joe Alt, Notre Dame, kid from Bama, they're all fine tackles and linemen, but they're not a generational type wide receiver. And that's what Marvin Harrison Jr. is.
It's just you want 10 years of all pros at a receiver? I think you do. You want an all pro sports book? I think you do. BetMGM, swing for the fences. Sign up with promo code, you guessed it, PHNX. Log in to the BetMGM Sportsbook app because it's BetMGM, swing for the fences. We're here on the stretch run, the MLB season. Diamondbacks, don't know if you know this, good. You're good if you're on BetMGM, MLB free-to-play game through the course of the summer till September 7th. Hello, be a batter, pick an area of the strike zone. Depending on the areas of the strike zone you pick, single, double, triple, home run, or pop-up, and receive the prize associated with that type of hit. BetMGM, by the way, Cardinals week 1, and I'm starting to look at money lines and spreads for week 1 because I'm a crazy person. Check it out. They're +6 right now at Washington. That's tempting. It's also tempting +200 to pick them to beat Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett or whoever the hell the Commanders tried out. But you should try yourself over to BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium because we will be there every single football Sunday during the NFL season. Home games, away games, whatever. Come hang out, party with myself, Bo Brock, the entire PHNX Cardinals crew. And we're hoping to be there for at least some of the preseason. So if you haven't signed up yet with BetMGM, what are you waiting for? Use that bonus code PHNX. Now, there's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our folks here in Arizona, place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses with BetMGM. Again, make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to my brother, Shane Diefenbach, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
I got to tell all of our listeners, our viewers about Wink. We're pumped about Wink. If you already know about Wink, you know what I'm about to tell you about. It's fantastic. It's a seltzer that has THC in it. How high are you going to get? Well, they'll just say a wink, right? I mean, it's got the perfect balance of THC, CBD, because there's an equal dose of CBD. CBD is like THC's laid back friend. It's like Johnny hanging out. He's cool. He's poolside. He keeps the party going from off the rails. It's balanced. It's light. It's unbelievable. It's great to have at your next event where you're hanging out. We're also trying to stay out of the heat. Once it hits 120, you're going to want an ice cold, refreshing Wink, and we're helping you get it. It's available right now in 11 states, including Arizona. So don't wait any longer. Check out drinkwink.com. That's drink, WYNK.com. Countdowndrink.com. You also have to check out Countdown. It's ready for liftoff. Countdown is the nano cannabis infused beverage that delivers sky-high blast with powerful flavor. That's available in 7 states, including our great state of Arizona. Drink Wink, WYNK, in countdowndrink.com. Utilize their drink finder, locate a store near you. You can also order it directly online, Wink only, for 2.5 milligram cans. You got to check it out for yourself. Wink, drinkwink.com.
It's a good nugget on Twitter from Graham Barfield. Check him out. He said Kyler Murray will be 10 months removed from ACL surgery by week roughly 4 to 5. So 10 months removed. Prior QBs coming off an ACL tear, Robert Griffin III, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow, Carson Wentz, all returned to play within 10 months. He goes, week 1 would be aggressive, but Kyler playing way earlier than most believe. It's like, hey, guys, wake up. Hello, wake up. I mean, it would never made sense to me. It's like people think his knee exploded and he had to have a new leg put in like the tail end of December, January. And then we're sitting here, we're watching Von Miller, who's 100 years old, right? Tear his ACL a couple weeks before. And he's like, I'll be ready for camp. I'm ready to go. It's like, what? Von Miller in his early 30s and Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray is a freak show in his prime, in his mid-20s. Granted, he runs around. He plays quarterback from the pocket most Sundays. Like, come on, everybody. It's great, too, because it's like, do we need to readjust the Cardinals over under? I think so. You cannot project the Cardinals to be the worst team in football if Kyler Murray plays the majority of the games. It is a quarterback-driven league. No singular player in the NFL is worth more than a point in Vegas besides the quarterback. So you can have a loaded roster. You can have DeAndre Hopkins, right? And Aaron Donald and pass rushers. But if your quarterback is shit, you're bad. Like, look at these teams. These teams that pick first overall, their quarterback play is a big reason why. Like, I love Justin Fields, just not very good throwing the football, right? Those Brown teams we alluded to, the Cardinals, when they picked the first overall, when they had Kyler Murray, were awful with Josh Rosen. When you're picking first, your quarterback is ass, right? You're not a guy you want to stick with very rarely. Kyler Murray, we all agree, is a top 10 quarterback when he's healthy and humming. He's an MVP caliber player. And while that might be a stretch to assume that's going to be him this year, I mean, like, placeholder quarterbacks do far, far better. I mean, Jacoby Brissett won 7 games last year. David Blau should have won in Atlanta. What was it? What's his name? Should have beaten Tom Brady on Christmas Day.
Really?
Yeah. Trace McSorley. So it just, to me, it's like, okay, he's going to play a large majority of the season. Like, it's much more realistic in my idea, in my notion, that they're going to win like 6-7 games. Now,
what was
I will take the over
Watson,
under.
Carson Wentz, RG3. Who else was on that list?
Joe Burrow. Yeah. Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz. Yeah, those are the 3. All returned to play within 10 months. So a lot of people who were saying like early October.
Vincent tell you Phillip Rivers tore his ACL in the divisional round of the playoffs and he was back, didn't miss a game?
Yeah. So he tore his ACL against the I believe it was the Colts, and they won that game with a backup in like the fourth quarter. And then he went to play, the Patriots in the NFC or AFC title game. They lost. Then he had his knee operated on.
Yeah.
So he played from the pocket with a torn ACL, and then he was ready for that next season. Like, and that's always been the biggest argument that I've made on this show is like, well, if he can play from the pocket, he just can't do all the specialty stuff. Give me Kyler Murray from the pocket more than Colt McCoy or Jeff Driscoll or David Blau or Clayton Tune from the pocket. And everybody, he's got to be dynamic. He's got to do everything. Like, I want them to win games, but I want him to play.
Well, but if got to be able to, I mean, obviously the main qualifier is he's got to be 100% healthy without the risk of re-injuring it. I mean, that's the only thing, right? I mean, that's the one that I think everybody agrees on. You don't rush it unless he's 100% sure. Is he not the same athlete? You know, like we talked to Dr. David Chow, the pro football doc at the Super Bowl. He told us this, like, yeah, he could very well be back week one. No doubt about it. But is he going to be pretty much confined to the pocket? Probably. And I think I agree with you. I mean, I think as far as pocket passing ability, he's still the best player option on the team.
Easily.
And for him to, obviously have to relearn his footwork and the things that are going to go into learning a new offense, you really want him to get in there as soon as possible. So, and I don't think that that's going to come in line with like when Gannon tells us he needs to be 100% physically. I think when he says he needs to be 100% physically, obviously there's going to be rust that's going to be needed to be knocked off, and he's going to be confined to the pocket more than what we're used to seeing with Kyler Murray. But as long as he's not at risk for re-injuring it, I think that's what Gannon means, 100% physically. And then obviously the mental part, Kyler talked about on the episode tonight, saying, he made that move 1,000 times. And he never felt anything like it before.
The perception of this team will be so much different if Kyler Murray returns back from injury. It takes him a couple weeks to knock some rust off. People don't assume the Cardinals are going to be competitive anyway. And then they finish the season and they look good and they look competitive, and he looks good in this offense. It doesn't matter if they win 5 games or 6 games or 7 games. Having positive momentum with K1 on the field as your quarterback ending this season should be the goal, whatever that looks like. By the time we hit early January, it's Kyler Murray in the finale looking good in Drew Petzing's offense, because then you can say at the end of the year, we don't care what our record is. We did our best. We did what's best for Kyler and the franchise. And now let's go. Money, check. Draft capital, check. Playing time for Kyler and a bunch of these rookies, check and check. That should be the goal, whatever that looks like. So I don't think fans of this team and fans of Kyler Murray want to rush him back because, well, we got to contend. We got to win a playoff spot in the NFC. No. I think it's we got to get Kyler Murray back playing football so that projects us for next year to where we can be back in the mix to be a contender in the NFC. Because I think they are. If Kyler Murray plays the majority of the season and he looks good at the tail end, they will be a contender in the NFC in 2024. 100%. They will flip this roster enough in the landscape of the NFC to be a playoff team easily in 2024. I don't want to hear 2025. If Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback and he's healthy at the end of this year and he looks good in Petzing's offense,
did you get a
Hollywood
case
Brown catching?
What's going on here? I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. As optimistic as I'll be.
Daniel Jones made the playoffs this year, Bo. Come on.
I know that, but there was the roster, like the roster that Brian Daboll took over was in way better shape than the roster was when Monty Osborne got his hands on it. No, absolutely it was. Absolutely was.
Who's playing wideout? Who's playing wideout for the Giants?
But look, I mean, that's
tight end.
They'd spent a ton of money at that position, but they drafted a bunch of offensive linemen. They
got the right coach,
running back.
And they elevated their quarterback.
Saquon Barkley. I mean, if he's back by week 2, the home opener against the Giants, and Saquon's still got contract issues, look out. I mean, that might be the best bet right now at BetMGM.
Could you imagine how shitty this team has been at home, and then the first home game under Gannon, Kyler Murray comes back and they beat the Giants? Oh my God, it'd be fantastic. It'd be the best win this team's had in 24 months. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. And the one little thing that the wrinkle that might make it a little tougher is the meniscus thing. I mean, it wasn't just an ACL. Some of these guys, I think RG3 was more than just an ACL, but you'd have to do some research on that. Some of these guys, it was just the ACL, and the meniscus thing might keep Kyler back from that week 1 return.
Chase, I don't like this comment. Sensible Bo strikes again. We need to get a shirt at the merchandise locker, Sensible Bo.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It needs to just be, the most generic shirt, boring shirt, Sensible Bo.
The shirt and tie.
Yes. I appreciate you bringing everyone back down to earth. It's like, I get my paycheck, you run out and you go nuts on Prime Day. Bo's like, put it in savings, put in 401k. We're going to be sensible. Jalen Blair in the chat, $5. Thank you so much, Jalen. Friend of the program. What do you think about the comment, Bo? I feel free in the sense, especially with the change of upstairs in the organization. We touched on that a little bit earlier, but there's the full quote.
Yeah, that was what I told Johnny and the rest of the crew in here, that that's the thing that stood out to me the most out of this entire episode. Feels free with the front office, and I think that also might include the coaching staff, the previous coaching staff, and there was pressure obviously from Keim and Cliff to perform and carry and make up for where their handicaps, I guess. And then of course, the addendum, all the stuff that they threw on his shoulders. I think that with them going away and there being big time changes, and the changes have been the necessary and correct ones, Kyler Murray feels free. He's out from under a huge weight. That was Keim and Cliff.
Yeah. Let's get to some of these comments here. Daniel, I love this comment. I agree with Johnny. We'll be contenders in 2024. Monty is a genius, and I didn't say that a few weeks ago. If Kyler Murray plays this year, then there's no reason to think they can't be a playoff team in 2024. Unless Kyler's terrible.
How you getting
if
there?
Kyler Murray's good, how you getting there?
Tell me your plan to turn this roster around to where you're contending. Please tell me. Well, how are you fixing the defensive line? How are you going to?
No, there's a difference between. All right,
let me back group.
A playoff contender, not a Super Bowl contender. There's 7 playoff spots in the NFC.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not backpedaling. I think that's what I said. They're a contender for a playoff spot. If not, I apologize. First of all, they're gonna have two picks, premium picks, whatever the hell they look like. Whether it's 2-5.
Is Daniel the same thing? Is he the same? Tell us in the chat if you think it's okay. Playoff spot. All right. Oh, that's Jalen saying that. So I'll see what
everybody. I mean, let me ask everybody this: if they finish the year on a positive note, and Kyler Murray's playing well, you're doing a disservice to your fan base if you're not saying, yeah, playoffs. Fans are going to be expecting, playoffs. You want to know why? You're paying a quarterback, and this is a big reason. You're paying a quarterback $45, $50 million a year. Your ass better be in playoff contention every year, because you're telling everybody else that quarterback is a top 8 to 10 quarterback in the NFL. And every year we have that person, we're a playoff contender. That's the reason why they signed Kyler Murray. So if you're not saying that and Kyler Murray is your quarterback, then that's a bigger problem. And that's a problem with K1. But if you believe K1 can go back to an MVP caliber player and a top 10 quarterback, and you're paying him $50 million, you get a mulligan this year, right? You get a mulligan. He's coming off an injury. 2024, 2 years in this offense. Let's go. You better be a contender for a playoff spot. Come on. Can't be trotting out 7-10 in 2024. I don't care how bad they are this year. If he plays
a team, a roster that's viewed as the worst
come on.
It is. I mean,
you can flip a. What is everybody saying in Chicago right now? Playoffs. Got to go to the playoffs. Got to do they had the first pick in the draft, and everybody playoffs with Justin Fields.
No, but
Kyler Murray is way better.
It's a bit. I felt like that was a bit delusional.
Okay, but that's their expectation.
How did they build most of that roster?
Free agency.
Yeah. That's
but they trade for DJ Moore.
Yeah. Look,
second-year defensive coach Eberflus.
They made some good moves. Look, and I think it's gonna be close. And if they're ahead of schedule, I'm here for it. Absolutely. I just don't want to be sitting here on July 13th saying playoffs in 2024.
But you might be sitting here in September 13th if Kyler Murray's playing, and I'm going to say playoffs 2023. If Kyler Murray's playing week 1, we'll see.
Yeah.
You just come on now. It's Kyler Murray. When Kyler Murray's on, this franchise is on.
Yeah.
When he doesn't play, they're a dumpster fire. They're an embarrassment. But when he plays, they're in every game. I mean, they rarely get blown out. Plus, I mean, come on now. The NFC West is not what it once was. They should have at least split with Seattle last year. We both agree Geno overachieved. We're not going to get that same level of production. And the Niners are, I mean, their roster's stacked, but let's give it a beat here. They could be starting Sam Darnold for a hot minute. And the Rams are terrible.
Daniel's saying we'll have $100 million in cap space, sure, but
that's right.
80. Right. You got to cut Ertz, you got to cut James Conner, you got to cut good players, and then you have to replace them with good players.
Trey McBride. Trey McBride's going to play tight end. You know him? You familiar with his game?
Trey McBride. I like the prospects at pass rush, but guys have to show something this year. When you have to start. I like Adam Hogue does this over at CHGO Bears. He's Sensible Hogue over there, and they're going to have the CHGO Locker T-shirt, just like Sensible Bo, where he starts counting off, starting caliber players, and you need to get to like how many starting caliber players the Arizona Cardinals have. Look,
all right, let's do that. Okay. Let me talk to you about Circle K. Then we're going to do that.
All right,
and I think you're going to be surprised. And speaking of surprises, you're going to be surprised how much you can save with Circle K right now. We're so excited to partner with our friends at Circle K. Check them out locally. Best coffee, beer, snack selection, premium gas, not a premium price. I'm about to road trip it here in the next coming days with my family out to California. And I'm loading up at Circle K. I don't want to be stuck in rural Arizona without gas at a premium price. Triple digits. I'm going to load up coffee, iced coffee, and I'm going to double down on those precious Polar Pops, 32 ounces. And we're going to hook you up. We're going to get buy one, get one free. Well, Johnny, how are we going to do that? Text PHNX right now to 31310 to join their exclusive SMS subscriber club. And they're going to load you up. So you get one on the house thanks to PHNX, thanks to Circle K. And if you're thinking to yourself, I love Circle K, but I don't know where to go, head to circlek.com/store-locator. That's circlek.com/store-locator to find the Circle K nearest to you.
You can find Four Peaks in your local Circle K, no doubt about it. Most of the beers that they brew locally here in the great state of Arizona, being the wet blanket that I've been tonight, I have to have a few cold ones afterwards just to feel better about myself. But yes. Four Peaks, love Four Peaks. You got to check it out for yourself. Check them out on your socials as well, at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. All their entire product line of beers. You got the Rattle On Red Ale. Why not support your Diamondbacks? They're hot right now. Also, you got the Redbird Lager that's going to be flowing at our tailgates at the BetMGM on Sundays this upcoming season. Everything is all about Four Peaks. It's our official beer sponsor of PHNX Sports. Check out their website to see their full product line and what they're brewing up there. If you're IPA guy or gal, they got a few of them for you. How about the Raj IPA? They got the Super Juiced Staycation IPA. They've got their flagship Kilt Lifter, the #1 wheat beer in Arizona, the Wow Wheat. It's fantastic. Check it out for yourself. They're 8th Street in Tempe, the original location, the last 25 years. They got a full menu there. It's delicious. You got appetizers, entrees, desserts. Four Peaks, unreal experience. Got to be 21 years or older to enjoy the beer, but when you do drink it responsibly. All
right, let's go through your little exercise, smartass. With the Cardinals, how many starting caliber players do they have? I'll let you get your lumps in first. Let's start with the defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the defense. So let's just call it. We call it a 3-4, 4-3. What do we like here?
We'll start with a 4-3. Let's just do a base 4-3 defense.
All right, your 4-3 defensive end. I think Cameron Thomas is very capable. He's going to have to show something, right? He's got to take a step that I think that he was denied just by the coaching staff last year. So I think just by having a new coaching staff, there's going to be opportunity there. And then we got to find out, can Zaven Collins play that position? He could be a guy, but I think BJ Ujulari is a starting caliber defensive end. So let's say of that group, you've got 2 starting caliber defensive ends. Yep. Interior of that defensive line. You don't have anybody. Right?
That's true. That's okay.
You hope that, maybe a Dante Stills, a draft pick, or a Carlos Watkins or a Ben Stilley, Rashard Lawrence emerges. Then you have to re-sign him. Okay, linebackers. Let's get to linebackers because you're White under contract, starting caliber, right? Played for NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. He didn't start for him most of the time, but he's a starter here. He's starting caliber linebacker. Who's the other guy?
You, Josh Woods.
I mean, they got guys on.
special
Yeah,
teamer.
they got Woods. He's a special
Zeke
teamer that's
Turner.
going to show that he can play. Zeke Turner, Owen Papo, I think people are excited about, but it's got a lot to learn at the NFL level. So one linebacker, right? Secondary, Marco Wilson. He's starting caliber. Who
Correct.
else? You hope Garrett Williams emerges, the third-round pick out of Syracuse, but still got to figure out post ACL, what's he look like? Is he ready to go? All right, who else we got? Anybody in the secondary I missed?
Well, defensive back or corner?
Corner.
Um,
Antonio Hamilton's 30. Christian Matthew still late round.
I'll give you one corner.
Okay,
That's fine. But you got to give me three.
Buddha and Jalen.
I think you give me three. You give me three safeties though, because everybody loves Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons is a starting caliber player in the NFL. Are we talking about?
Sure.
Are we talking about 2024? Are we projecting for 2024?
I was trying to think 2024.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. Yeah. So you got Buddha, Jalen, Marco, Kazir, and then the two defensive ends. So of the starting 11, you've got 6, 7. My math's correct?
5 or 6.
6. We'll do 6.
Okay.
So we're missing some beef on the. Listen, you can go shopping next off season. All right. So we're doing 6 on the defensive side. Offensively, I think it's a little bit more promising. Kyler Murray, check, is a starter, right? Now it's a little bit difficult because I thought we were going off of this year, but that's fine. Because listen, we should be going off of this year.
Go ahead, go off this
because if they have a good year, then they're not leaving. The Cardinals are going to let them go. Like if Hollywood Brown's a starter, and he has a good year, he's going to stay with the Cardinals. So Kyler, Hollywood, Trey McBride are all 3 starting caliber players.
See something from Trey.
Oh, okay. Well,
I do.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine.
I think
you said Zaven's a starter at defensive end, a position he's never played. Trey McBride.
I threw a couple guys in between Zaven, Cameron Thomas. You could throw Monte Sanders in there.
You're just banking on finding some starters. Okay. Paris Johnson Jr. is a starter. Don't you say otherwise.
Look at me. Dead serious. I'm with you.
Don't you dare. Listen, DJ Humphries could be in the last year of his contract with the Cardinals, but he's under contract next year. Like they could cut him. But if let's say he has a good year, he'll be back. Right? So you got your 2 tackles, plus they can add a tackle. The interior O-line, Will Hernandez signed a 2-year deal. He's a starter, right?
Okay.
I think the worst they're going to be at left guard and center is going to be this year. I think they'll get that.
Left guard, you don't have 2 starting caliber.
It's garbage. It's not good enough. And that's fine. Hopefully John Gaines, somebody figures it out, but I'm giving you that. Running back, though, I'm not going to sweat James Conner not being on the team if it's 2024. Like the Cardinals aren't going to pay. They could cut him and then bring him back at a reduced rate.
I hope
it's running backs all the time.
One of the 11 draft picks that they're going to have.
Right. Or they could get Kareem Hunt on a 2-year deal, cheap. He's a starting caliber player, and then get an heir apparent. I don't want to see you knocking our postseason chances in 2024 because of a running back. Okay, that's the New York Giants right now. It's like they're not paying Saquon money, big Saquon Barkley, big money. No thanks. Receivers, Hollywood Brown. That's it. That's the only thing I can say right now. The Hollywood Brown. You can flip an NFL roster in 18 months. That's what they're trying to do. Right. We're going to fast forward to 2024. They're going to have
worst to first. But I'm saying in order to do so, you have to start in Hoag's points. You have to find starting caliber players. You have to have depth, and they're churning this roster. And I have all the confidence in Monty Ossenfort to do so. And he's done the right thing in accumulating assets. He's primed to really expedite this rebuild. But at the same token, like they got to make some right decisions, and they got a long way to go. But I love the direction of the organization.
Momo in the chat, love that name, love the super chat. Thank you so much. $1.99. You think the Cards will trade players next season? I think they have a chance to trade players this season. I think they could trade players, veteran players at the deadline, depending on what their makeup looks like, depending on who's performing, who's not under contract. Like, I think, listen, not to beat a dead horse here, but like, could they trade Isaiah Simmons at the trading deadline? He's not under contract. Could they trade Zach Ertz? Could they trade James Conner? It just really there's so much left up in the air. Could they trade Josh Jones? Could they trade Kelvin Beachum if those guys don't start, or one of them? I would be really surprised if we're sitting here after the trade deadline in conjunction with preseason, Bo, and the Cardinals don't trade somebody, because they're not done. They want more assets. This is their year, their college football season ahead of next April. And they've got some guys, while they're not super valuable to the Cardinals, they could be a missing piece to get another team to where they want to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's talent on this roster. There's guys that go completely big downs for teams that are going to need it down the stretch of the NFL season. And I think that Monty would never say that he's content with the assets that he accumulated. Like he's always going to look to wheel and deal and put himself in the prime position in the 2024 offseason with his scouts in place, knowing what the coaching staff knowing more about the coaching staff and the players that they have on the current roster. I think that absolutely. I think that that's the sign of a good general manager. He's not just going to be content with the group and want to move forward. He's going to want to be able to churn it and get it up to speed as quickly as possible. And he's going to say, like, okay, is this person, they might be helping us out right now and they're attractive to other teams, but are they a part of the solution down the line? And I think Monty Ossenfort knows very well that he hasn't drafted most of the players that are going to really help this team yet get out of the the lower expectation tier of the NFL standings.
Ryan in the chat, Johnny, you didn't have Isaiah Simmons as a starter in 2024. What gives? Keep the streak alive. Hashtag. Well, I mean, it's tongue in cheek. He's not on the payroll. This is his last year on the payroll for this franchise. I do not think they're gonna bring him back next year. I'm probably in the minority. I know a lot of people want him to come back and want a contract extension. They're probably members of this fan base, Bo, that would celebrate an extension right now. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I think this is going to be a year for him to go out and get his, so to speak, not to quote, remember the Titans. I think he's going to put up nice numbers again. And I think he's going to hit free agency and he's going to have another fresh start to his career somewhere else. And the Cardinals will take a comp pick. But I just kind of I'm reading the writing on the wall and some things I've been hearing. It's just like, he's not going to be a base starter on defense. Mm-hmm. And unless he and Gannon really just blossom into a close partnership, friendship, and they can figure out the financials. Because here's the difficult thing, Ryan, as you project Isaiah Simmons is going to want to be paid a premium, and the Cardinals don't see him as a premium player. So he's going to test the market. He's ending his rookie contract making good money because he was a top 10 draft pick. Bo, like, no one's going to pay him, in my opinion, the average of his last NFL contract as a rookie in his fourth and fifth year in the free agent market. And that's what he's going to come to expect and want. And the Cardinals are telling you, by not picking up his fifth year option, you are not worth that. So why would they then turn around and sign him to a deal? He would have to be a Pro Bowl, all pro caliber season. I don't see that coming from him.
And teams that would pay him and give him the bag would have to know definitively what his role would be to continue that success. And but I think Isaiah knows that he's got to rely on JG and Nick Rallis to get him to a good spot throughout this season to where he can cash in the following offseason. I mean, it's going to be important. And it seems like he understands that. So yeah, we'll see what success looks like for Isaiah Simmons. I think we saw a glimpse of it in 2021. He's standing up Derrick Henry, blowing up Trey Lance, making stops on the goal line, and showing, his versatility, showing his physicality, showing his athleticism. And then I feel like took a step back at the beginning of last season and then, slowly got back into it. Probably not, for reasons like his own reasons. I think more VJ, benching him and playing in 30, total snaps in 2 games in a row. That's brutal, like 15 each. That's just not, it's not acceptable for the 8th overall pick. But, even if he has a really successful season, I think it's still going to be tough for potential shooting teams to really identify like where he fits in.
Well said. $5 super chat. Jimbo Judicious. Thank you so much for the super chat. Jimbo Dacious. I'm sorry. Opened up BetMGM last night. Love that. Bet over on the 6.5. Love that as well. And wins. Drinking the Kool-Aid, maybe, but going to bank if that happens. Love that energy, Jimbo. And I'm right there with you. So much so, Bo Brock. Like, I love Tank Tuesday. I love everything about it. Kyler Murray's back week 1. Like, do we have to temporarily put a hold on Tank Tuesday with this team? Because Tank Tuesday was created with the mindset Kyler Murray, it was going to be a while before we see K1. Now you got K1 running around talking about the goals week 1. Do we need to put the tank in the garage real quick? Or am I being a little bit dramatic here and you're going to be sensible, Bo, again, saying, no, we tank on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we tank on. I think it's a tankathon. And, I think that's more because you don't mess with a good thing. Is it a part of superstition? Like, was it a part of why things went well because of Tank Tuesday? Probably. And why would we stop? It's like, why would you wash your game jersey if you just went, if you just threw for 4 touchdowns? I mean, I think that you keep going and you don't wash it and you don't stop wearing a tank unless they give you a reason to stop wearing a tank. And I can't think of one.
I let Chase saying, don't tank the tank. You won't find me doing that. I'll never take off my tank. But Kyler dynamic, it is, in all seriousness, in that same podcast, or I guess we haven't even brought it up. I went on the Pick 6 podcast for CBS Sports with Will Brinson, and they basically asked, give me an over-under for 4.5. And I'm like, I can't. It's a push right now. And no one can identify anything other than that because you don't know. Because if Kyler Murray's back, they're going to be, I think, way better than people think. And if he doesn't come back, they're going to be, I think, one of the worst teams in the NFL. They'll have if Kyler Murray doesn't play, they'll have a chance for the number 1 pick. And if he does play, I think they're winning more than 4.5 games. Jimbo thinks they're winning more than 6.5 games.
Yeah.
But no one knows definitively, which is why it's a crapshoot right now.
Yeah, you copped out, and that's fine.
Okay, bro.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with it, and that's why it's tough to handicap this team. And I highly encourage people to check out that interview. I think it's fantastic because right out of the gates, our guy Johnny Venerable pressed Will Brinson on his dumpster fire quarterback tiers that had Kyler Murray in tier 6 with the likes of Sam Howell. Who was the other shitty quarterbacks he had with
Dirt Mascurt? I think Baker was in that group. I think, guys from the XFL were in that group.
Yeah, it was.
I think AJ McCarron was in that group. I think, it was a rough sledding. Yeah.
Matt Leinart.
Vince Young was there. It was nice. CBS invited me to do that sports. And I did not know Will was going to be on. And I logged on to do that. It was a pre-record. It's up now. And there's Will. And I'm like, well, shit, I got to ask Will. Like, what I called him public enemy number 1. And he's like, what's the meanest thing that people have said about the post? And I'm like, I don't know about that. I took the picture and I said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And where his kind of grace came from, because he's very adamant, like that he did not do that to stir up shit. He posted that to come out July 5th, and he threw it I think he kind of threw it together on the 4th of July.
Was he pretty much saying he was drinking while he was doing it?
Maybe. I mean, but he also was
like, I was putting it together on July 4th. I'm like, what does that have to on America's birthday? I'm putting it together.
Bro, we know you threw it together. We know you didn't take time to put it together. We don't need you to tell. I'm glad that you can give it some feet or give it some backstory. But then he also said, and I will say, the image did him a disservice because it did not have the tier labels on them. And tier 6 was, I don't know what's going to happen. And he said that in part because Kyler Murray was hurt. But I told him, I'm like, well, how do you have Jimmy Garoppolo in tier 4? Can you tell me if Jimmy Garoppolo's playing? Because has he passed the physical yet? What's going on there? I think he would unequivocally do it differently. And then he told me on the podcast, if Kyler Murray is healthy, he's a tier 3 quarterback, which I think we all agree. So I think he regrets it. He said that he expects to be old takes exposed when Kyler Murray comes back, because Kyler Murray is coming back sooner, but he was a good sport about it. Check it out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun podcast. It's only about 20 some minutes. It's over there on CBS. And Johnny, right out of the gates, just come swinging at Brinson right out of the gates. Maybe he
Well,
was
my
down.
audio was cut against Florio. So Bo got the shots against Florio. So I said, okay, I got to come and throw some haymakers at Brinson here because this we can't stand for this
Yeah,
now.
we're
It's
just
all,
going
if anybody's going to dog on the Cardinals, it's this podcast. Nobody
right,
else can do it.
right. And we're going to swing on anybody who says anything not complimentary of the Arizona Cardinals. But maybe, Brinson was probably dabbling in some gummies that weren't OGs. OGs
True.
brands, flavors your life. And of course, it's Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen, and it's going to give you exactly the cannabis experience that you want. And it's not going to make you put out a tier list that you do even disagree with at the end of it. You're going to have it locked in, and you're not going to have any issues with OGs. It's the solution for basically all of life's problems. They got the sleep edition gummy that's going to help put you to sleep, keep you asleep. They got all the great flavors. Check their full product line out at ogsbrands.com. They got the fruits, they got the creams. You can get the mix bags. You can find out which ones you like, or you can continue to get the mix bags. They got the Happy Balance gummy as well, strawberries and cream. And this summer, they just released it. They got the pink lemonade. Check it all out. Find them in your local dispensary. But as I said, check out their website, ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. ogsbrands.com and at ogsbrands on social. Got to be 21 years or older to purchase.
I'm super encouraged and love the turnout tonight for something that we decided to do. I know a lot of this is rightfully so for K1 and the phenomenal work that the Cards do with Flight Plan, but it's just a taste of what Bo and I have to come in the coming months for the 2023 NFL season, the Cardinals season. I think I can say this, Bo, is we will have an after hours draft college football show in some way, shape, or form this fall during this season. And there'll be drinking involved, and we want to include all of you because we're excited. We're excited to talk prospects that are going to be balling this fall that could ball in red and white down the line, Bo.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing something tomorrow that involves the show that is massive that we can't tell you about right now. I want to say so much. I just can't. It's going to be unbelievable what's coming your way. We'll be able to tell you everyone, I think by August, right, Johnny? We can tell them by the beginning of August, right?
Feels like that's the time.
Take this to the next level. You're not going to believe it, what we have in store for all you Cardinals fans out there, all PHNX Cardinals listeners, viewers. It's going to be fantastic. Cannot wait to unveil this, but we are just starting to work on some things that we're going to unveil in next few weeks, and it's just going to take this coverage to another gear. So and I can't wait for the late night prospect deep dives. That's going to be fantastic in the fall because regardless if it's Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt, Jared Verse, the entire top 10 of the draft class, we're gonna get sick. We're gonna get really out of control with our prospect.
We're gonna get dirty.
Yeah, we're gonna get dirty.
We're gonna get dirty after hours, and we want to do it with all of you. Cardinals may not bring their A game this year, but you're gonna get the A game from this podcast and these two gents that you see here. And so gear up. We're just 2 weeks away from the start, almost to the day of Arizona Cardinal training camp, where we go hard for 6+ months in your premier coverage of this franchise, for better or worse. And again, I'd be remiss if we didn't say, if you haven't checked out the spot, the landscape at BetMGM, the sportsbook on the Great Lawn, it's not across the street, right? It's not in a different complex. Here's the stadium. Here's BetMGM. Here's PHNX Cardinals every single football Sunday. It is for free. Come hang out, party with us, watch football, enjoy the landscape, tailgate, whatever you want to do. Make sure you're doing it with us. Pre-game, halftime, post-game show. Bo Brack hits from the stadium, walking back to the stadium. Your one-stop shop for this franchise every single football Sunday is with us at BetMGM, Bo. I cannot wait.
Yeah, can't wait. Howard Balzer just put up a banger of an article about Kyler Murray at gophnx.com. Highly encourage you to check that out. But thank you to everybody in the chat today. It was a fun night. I mean, it was a great 20+ minute episode of Flight Plan. We finally got some true insight into Kyler Murray, and it only just started to fuel the flames a little bit as far as it's getting close, and we're gonna know more once training camp begins. Does it go on PUP? It doesn't, then it gets even more out of control. But we got some time to kill between now and then. We haven't told anybody about this. Tomorrow, a little special episode of PHNX Cardinals. Some people we cut our teeth with early on in our Cardinals podcasting days. Some old friends are going to join us on the pod, like Murphy from Revenge of the Birds and Alex Clancy from Locked On Cardinals. Going to join us. We're going to start a roundtable series. Also, we have one already done with Jess Root of Cards Wire over at USA Today that's going to be released next week. But tomorrow, make sure you tune in at 4 o'clock, usual time, where Blake and Clancy join us. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Thursday evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow on PHNX Cardinals.